Alright everyone, welcome back. Here we are on leg 2 of our Alaska adventure. We're currently on the ground in Palmer, Alaska. We're going to go ahead and take off, head up to Talkeetna this time. And I do believe I actually pronounced it right that time, which is a very important thing. So yeah, we're headed to Talkeetna, Alaska. Brakes are off. It's about 50 miles, should take about 40 minutes, maybe a little bit less, in the trusty Cessna 170 with our Tundra tires on. So without much further ado, let's take off. We landed the opposite way yesterday when we came into Palmer, but we're going to go ahead and take off to the south today on runway 16. Had a little bit of crosswind there. So looking at the terrain that we'll have behind us, we're going to go ahead and make left traffic and turn back towards the north. The terrain tops out at right around, 5,000, 5,500 feet or so. So my plan right now, I'm just going to go ahead and climb over it to 6,500 feet. And we'll just cruise that way up to the north. I think our heading should be about 313 degrees if we're going direct. I went ahead and threw it on the sectional earlier so I could verify what heading I needed to fly. And yeah, should be pretty chill. And then that third leg of our journey, when we go from Talkeetna up towards Denali in Denali National Park, I do believe on that one I'm going to go ahead and sidestep a little bit to the west, actually I guess to the north, before we start making our turn further towards the west. And we're going to do that for the most part just to get a good view of a bunch of glaciers that are located in Denali National Park. So 313 degrees is going to be somewhere around there. These are the hills we're going to try to climb to get above. The terrain over there to the east is a little higher. That's sitting at about 6,100 feet. I say the east, I guess it's kind of to the northeast, but the terrain that's over to our right there is at about 6,100 feet. So we should be able to climb above this. We've got a little bit of ways to go before we have to. So we should have some good terrain to look at as we fly across and continue our way up north. So right now we're doing about 300 degrees. So we're going to angle up a little bit to the right. When I originally looked at it, I actually had the thought of maybe flying down the valleys, and we could just show just how dangerous that Alaskan flying can be. But yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and climb above it. We've got the weather's good. We've got the performance. Let's get up there in that happy spot and just kind of cruise. Heard the RPMs drop a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of power back in, or a little bit of mixture back in. See, I will say I really do still enjoy this Cessna 170. It's just a cool little airplane. And honestly, if you look at it, I mean, they did a really fantastic job of the detailing in here. The screws, these lock washers that are showing up on the windscreen, you know, they look really cool. We got some vents there that are not in 3D, so you can't see down them, but it'd be kind of neat if you could. A couple of pop rivets here which look like they are molded. Some other ones over there on the side. The little buttons up there on the dash all look really good. It's a good looking airplane, you know, and it flies pretty nice too. It's one of the ones that's another fave of mine. And one of the things that I like about it, as I've talked about in the last video, I guess it was in my Alabama flight, is that this one is Spartan. It's very, very, very basic. You're looking at, like I said, you can hide the little GPS that's there. The GPS is, I mean, barely legible in VR anyway. It's a very tiny GPS. It does come with this, and I didn't even notice it. It had this little iPad dealio over here beforehand. But I do believe it's for, you know, I guess the options that you want to have on there. So you can have a pilot, co-pilot. It says a co-pilot should be on. I don't see anybody. Anyway, pilot door open, close, co-pilot door. So it's kind of neat. You got some options on there, and then startup checklist, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's a very basic airplane. It's kind of humorous in the fact that just how basic it is. I've never actually pulled that checklist out of. Just kind of hopped in, started, go flying. Um, most small airplanes start about the same. And the only real difference that's, a little bit different on this one, and it's kind of similar to the Skyhawk that I fly on a regular basis, is that there's a starter pull here, and obviously you have a starter button. And in the late model aircraft, you actually just have an ignition switch that has a start detent in it. So yeah, as I was saying, we're obviously above the terrain that's directly ahead of us right now. Should still be a little lower than whatever the biggest peak is over there to the right. Make sure that our altimeter is set up correctly here. Yeah, so we're getting close to it, but we're still, I believe it says 6,100 feet for the highest terrain to our right. And what's kind of fun, I was looking at when I was looking at the sectional, as you look at the mountains here, there are listed as being settlements, dwellings, and occasional, I wouldn't say towns, but buildings that are located along the route, which is kind of neat. Other things that are interesting, they name the different valleys that you have. So all the different passes are named, which would make some sense. If you're ever having an issue and you're going to be given a radio transmission, you can pull it up and say exactly where you're located along what valley or what pass you believe you're in, and that can probably help in your rescue attempts. So we're trying to trim it off just a little bit here. Heading looks about right, maybe just a bit off, just a little bit to the left. We'll go a little bit further right here. I was thinking right about 308, 309. And that course was not taking into account wind correction, so there could be more wind up here at altitude. Like I said, it's only over a 50-mile jaunt, so we should be okay. I imagine we'll be able to find it without too much trouble. There are a bunch of airports once we get up to the river. images were taken at two relatively different times. Take a look to the lake, you can see, or to the left, you can see that lake down there. Whereas obviously the lakes that we were passing on the right earlier were all still liquid. Obviously you can see the foliage and all the green on the ground there, whereas to the left it's a little more barren. The trees are still there, but it's pretty obvious that there's a pretty clear delineation between rocky and not green stuff to the left and pretty green stuff to the right. At least in this one little area. When I was doing my little bit of prep work, I noted that there was a VOR in Talkeetna. So it's 116.2. I decided to go ahead and plug that in. In a worst case, in an absolute worst case scenario, if I don't see or don't recognize that there's a town right ahead of us, that VOR should get a reverse course, and at that point in time, we'll know that we've passed something. There is DME on it as well. I don't believe... No, this one here doesn't have... Well, to the back. It might actually have the functionality, but I don't think I can grab it to pull it out. So, I know back in the day, you could take some of these radios, these Bendix King radios, and you could pull it, and it would actually pull up the DME information for you. Or put it into a hold mode so you could see what was going on behind the scenes, but that's not going to happen. So like I said, we'll just fly it about a 300-degree course to get the rest of the way there. It doesn't appear that the winds are affecting us all that much. I was already a little bit to the right of the course and it was coming right back in, so we'll go a few degrees back to the left. You can see the river up there, and not this river, not the near one, but the far one up there. The peaks that we see out there, that should be Denali National Forest, or Denali National Park. I think we're going the right way. We'll just kind of keep the truck going. clear the train, we'll start descending down a bit. Every single lake we flew over looked like it would be a fun place to hang out. And a pretty epic hike. If something didn't kill you. Fork in the river up here, obviously. We've got, looks like a town and a village. And I know that the Talkeetna airport is near the town. I want to say it's to the north of it, which I think the town's down here, the city's down in the fork. I see a clearing up to the north. We're going to see if that's it. If not, it might be this little bit of a stretch that I'm looking at and thinking is a town, just to the, I guess just this side of the river, just to the south, southeast of the river. So we'll descend down here in just a second, get ourselves a little bit lower, but it's either going to be this right here or one of the things right up there to the north. We'll see. But I'm almost certain this should be Talkeetna. I almost said it again. There's a blurry spot right there. So I clear here, clear there, right in that spot, just blurred. I don't know, it's supposedly kind of a sun glare or something, but it's right there. Yeah, that spot's still blurry. All the rest of the trees, I mean, they look somewhat, you know, pixelated, but they look okay. Alright, I got a beacon. Looks promising. So we're just set up for left-hand traffic pattern. Fly over this lake here, enter on the 45 and land back towards the south. And let's put all the drag out. All right, there's our slope. Dip just a little low. Power's out. Safely on the ground in Talkeetna. Turn that off. Now it'll be really humorous if we pull into park and discover that we're actually not in Talkeetna at all. That was definitely I'd say a relatively brake grab just a little bit. A relatively benign flight. Once again, this is those things I don't know why someone put taxi lights in spots like that. But we'll pick this up in another couple days with our next leg of the journey. I have to work on that brake. Very grabby. I think that's close enough to him. Thanks for watching. We're not dead.